folks, we're going to get started. Welcome everybody. Thank you very much for coming today. There is plenty of seats up front too, so feel free to fill in the seats up here. And if we run out of chairs, we will bring more in. There should be some already ready for us right outside, so don't worry, we will have a seat for everybody today. My name is Eugene Davidovich. I'm the chapter coordinator for San Diego Americans for Safe Access. We are the local chapter of a national organization, and we are very excited and proud to bring you today the one-day seminar discussing criminal law, civil law advancements in CBD, research and application of different medicines related to medical cannabis, as well as civic engagement and some really exciting stuff and all the latest information of what's going on in the community. Halfway through the seminar, we're going to have a short break. We're going to bring some food and some snacks in. In the meantime, there's some water and coffee in the back, so please feel free to grab some. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce the first speaker for today, Melissa Bobrow, a local attorney who is going to be talking about criminal side of things and how to defend medical marijuana patients. Ms. Bobrow served as the local, on the local chapter of the San Diego ASA for several years. She's been very active with the community, has represented many, many clients and collectives here in San Diego, is truly an expert in the field. So without further ado, Ms. Bobrow.
Thank you. How is everyone? Good. Good. Thanks for coming out today on Sunday. I'm going to start really quickly just to get a general idea of who's in the crowd. And the camera's on me, so you don't have to worry about anything like that. But is anybody currently involved already in a dispensary or delivery service? They show hands. Okay, great. And is anybody thinking about it? Okay. All right, great. So we have people who are here in the community, and I think this is going to be very beneficial for everyone. So a little bit about me, as Eugene said, I do criminal defense. When it comes to medical marijuana, though, I have ventured into the civil side of the law because, simply put, there's just too much going on, and you can't really represent somebody just in one small capacity in medical marijuana and really do it effectively. So Kim and I have certainly, while Kim is the incorporation expert, Kim also has represented people in civil court just because there's too much going on and you really can't represent people in a vacuum. So I'm going to talk about criminal law, and the goal is for you guys to walk out of here feeling good about what you do. So while I certainly am going to touch on some scary subjects, I mean it's criminal law, that means cops, it means DEA, it means the scary people, I want all of you to walk out of here feeling good and being able to breathe a sigh of relief and knowing exactly what you're doing and how to best protect yourself. How to never need me, and then, in case you do need me, how to make my job incredibly easy. So, sorry, I'm not going to lie, I'm here to plug that. Yeah, let me just be honest with you. The easier you make my job, though, the better it is for you. Keep in mind what my job is. So we're going to start with some basics, and the reason why we're going to actually go back and talk a little bit about Prop 215 and Senate Bill 420 is that the people that are coming into my office, we seem to have gotten a little bit off the beaten path with basic medical marijuana law and what the law really means and what it does and how it protects you and who it's there to protect. So let's start with Prop 215, Compassionate Use Act, Health and Safety Code 11362.5. It arose by any other name, smells as sweet. It was passed in 1996 by the voters, and it's actually a special kind of law. It's not a law unto itself. And Kim's going to actually get into really great detail about laws and the local laws and the ordinance and how that's going to work. But we're going to give you a little bit of civics here, and that's it was a voter initiative. In other words, voters wrote this law. It wasn't written by the usual people that are up in Sacramento writing laws, making backroom deals, trying to get things done. It was written by people that cared so much about it, they put it on the ballot. That's great. That's huge. They got it on the ballot. Over 56% of the population voted it in. It became enacted. It's now in the Health and Safety Code. Wonderful. Isn't that the best thing ever? Well, here's the deal. When people that don't usually write laws get a law passed, there are some unforeseen problems and consequences that come along with that. And the problem with a voter initiative, though, while it's amazing and it was great and it was the first in the country to pass with any type of medical marijuana, awesome, Congress can't touch it, so the state legislature can't change it. So as much as Prop 215 was wonderful and it advanced so much and it got the ball rolling, we're also stuck with it as it's written. And only other voters can amend it. So in case we're wondering, well, why don't we just change the law and make it better, easier? Well, we have to literally, all of us, once again, get together, write a new law, amend it, get it on the ballot, and enact it into law. So 215, what does it do? It protects patients and caregivers. And it protects them in a very limited way. And it says, if you have a recommendation from your doctor, now it could be oral, no problem, the doctor could tell you, hey, I think it's great for you to have this, but what's the problem with an oral recommendation?
No proof.
Exactly, no proof. And I want you to keep in mind that medical marijuana law is nuanced and there are gray areas, but sometimes just think of it as you would think of anything else, really. You know, I mean, sometimes it is the special area of law, and sometimes it's just like anything else. And like a contract. Most contracts, oral contracts, are fine, they're valid, most of them. How do you prove it? How do you prove that you had a contract? So that's why that's where the writing comes into place with the doctor's recommendation. You get something in writing, and now a patient is entitled to cultivate or possess medical marijuana. There's nothing in 215 about distribution, transportation, and a million other things. It's really, that's it. You can grow it and you can have it if you're a patient or you're a caregiver. And we'll get into what a caregiver is in just a second. But that's it. And it also, it also allowed doctors to recommend marijuana. And that's still the law, and that's federal and state. So that's 215, and it's very limited if you think about it. And it doesn't even protect you from being arrested. So that's something that I want everyone to really think about for a quick second. The doctor's recommendation doesn't in itself protect you from being arrested, okay? Now, what we have later is Senate Bill 420, or the Medical Marijuana Program Act, or Health and Safety Code 11362.77. That came along, and that said, well, there's this voluntary program. You don't have to be involved in it if you don't want to be, but you can. And it works very much like a driver's license. It's a state-issued card. You get it at your local Department of Health Services, much like your driver's license. It's state-issued, state of California, but you go to your local DMV. You don't go to Sacramento to get your driver's license. You don't have to go to Sacramento to get this. But that's supposed to prevent you from getting arrested. And that also covered in Senate Bill 420, transportation issues. It started to get more into distribution, the idea that, hey, you know, once we cultivate it and it's there, what do? Like, we just high-five each other and say, yeah, we cultivated it, and then no one can touch it or give it to anybody. We just look at it, enjoy it. So it started to get a little better. It started to clarify things, but it was that voluntary ID card that really caused a lot of controversy also here in San Diego. But that's what it does. And that card is supposed to prevent you from being arrested. That's the law. Now, let's talk about the difference between legality and reality very quickly, because it's going to be a theme throughout this, and it's going to probably answer a lot of your questions just in general. That's what the law says. The law says that if you have a valid doctor's recommendation and a valid card, and you're cultivating marijuana, and you're doing it within the confines of a closed booth, you're not just growing weed and selling it, okay? You're growing your medical marijuana for other patients, for yourself, you have everything's in order, you're not supposed to get arrested. Well, why do people still get arrested then? I mean, what are they doing wrong, right? What are they doing that got them arrested? Unfortunately, the answer is truly, to be honest with you, I'm not doing you any favors by not being honest with you, sometimes the answer was that they were growing marijuana, they were within compliance with state law. And just because judges or juries may not find you guilty, that doesn't mean that the police or the DEA or the prosecutors aren't going to put you through hell in order to go through those steps and have a judge or jury say, hey, this person is not a felon and you don't think this person's a criminal. So I think it's really important to understand that, yes, you have the law, and the law will protect you if you're complying with the law. It will, at the very end of the day, be your friend. However, that doesn't mean that the people who are enforcing the law are on the same page with that. So that's just me being honest with you and not sugarcoating it. But there are plenty of ways to protect yourself. Now, a big thing that's been happening lately, and that's been coming into my office, is anybody hear anything about dispensaries being closed in San Diego? Anybody just hear of that? So there's been a trend that's basically, I mean, let's be honest, it's a bit of a speakeasy situation right now. And the trend has been going, well, What was the point? I mean, I just, I went to a lawyer, I got my paperwork, this and that, and then I got shut down by the city, I got closed by the city. Or, my grower got arrested anyway, or 3 of my growers got arrested anyway. What's the point of this paperwork? What does it do? It didn't protect me, it didn't protect anybody. Okay, remember what I just said. It may not protect you from getting arrested, and I'm truly very sorry about that. I mean, I really am. But people get arrested for things that they don't do all the time. That, once again, is not unique to medical marijuana. There are courthouses. Literally, we built a whole branch of government designed on the idea that sometimes cops get it wrong. The criminal defense attorneys, we do more than medical marijuana cases. So there's nothing we can do as far as preventing you from getting arrested if the cops are going to arrest you. I'm going to be honest. But when you have the right paperwork, when you're in order, when your affairs are in order, when you've been paying your taxes if you're properly incorporated, when you have your membership agreements in order, when you have your valid recommendations in a smaller collective up to date in order, that's when my job gets really, really easy. And that's when, yeah, the cops may have taken you in, and I'm really sorry about that, but guess what? We're in court now. And the cops don't run the courtroom. The judge does. And if you get to trial, the jury does. It's the 12 members of the jury. And so far in San Diego, we have not had juries coming back with guilty verdicts for people that have been properly incorporated and that have been complying with the law. We just haven't had one yet. And that's really powerful, and that's something that I want you guys to walk away feeling good about, is that if your paperwork is in order and you were complying with the law, I'm sorry you're in the situation where you had to go through that. I truly am. But guess what? Those 12 people are too. And they're not happy that you're sitting there either. And they also think that this is a huge waste of time. Unfortunately, the law moves slowly. Law enforcement is the slowest on that, surprisingly. And we have to have more of these people, we have to have more of these. And that's the only way to do it. We're in this catch-22 where the law's not going to move forward until more people who get in trouble for it say, no way, I wasn't doing anything wrong. I'm not taking a plea deal. I had my paperwork in order. I had my doctor's card. I had my membership agreement. I had everything ready to go. There's no way I'm taking a deal. So again, long day. It might be the end of a long day, but your paperwork is important. Now, let's talk about what paperwork means in some recent cases and why it's actually very important. So, has anybody here heard of Jovan Jackson? Show of hands. Okay, good. So I'll save the facts of the case then for some other time. So as we know, Jovan Jackson just got appealed. It went up to the 4th district. We're in the 4th district, and went up to the appellate court. And what happened was this: the judge said, for some reason, and this is always mind-boggling to me, but for some reason, all laws of common sense just go right out the window when it comes to medical marijuana. It just, 1 plant equals 1 pound every time, equals $10,000 every time. The horticulture just ceases to exist, and just magic beans, it just all goes out the window. All of a sudden now, because it's a medical marijuana collective and cooperative, every single member needs to be tilling the soil and actively doing this. I'm a member of the People's Co-op in Ocean Beach. You can buy vegetables from there. I promise you, I'm never there working the cash register or stocking the shelves or sweeping the floors. I promise I pay my $10 and I get my discount and I buy my bananas. That's it. So, for some reason with medical marijuana, Judge Shore felt differently. He felt that there was no evidence that everybody was there pitching in. There were too many people. There were over 1,000 members of this collective. There's no way that's a true collective. And he was denied his defense. So that defense that you get in state court, this defense that says if you have your doctor's recommendation, if you have your ID card, he didn't get it. That's a big deal. They appealed that decision, and the appellate court came down and said, absolutely not, Judge Shore, you're 100% wrong. You can't, this isn't about that. But it was very specific, and it was a great case for a lot of reasons. First of all, good news, it becomes a regular collective or cooperative, like everything else is in any type of business structure or sense. You become a member, you pay your dues, you're in. Great. But what it also did was it gave very explicit instructions on how to protect yourself, on how to fall into Jovan's category, so that now you're given these defenses in court. And that's really what it's about. It's not just about, oh, I have a storefront, I negotiated with a landlord, I got a space, that's the hard part. No. That's not easy, don't get me wrong. But what you want to do, if you're engaging in this, if this is what you're doing, you have to be as smart as possible, you have to be as careful as possible, and you have to have your paperwork in order. court was very explicit with that. They said, first of all, and for some reason the court actually used the word prescription instead of recommendation, which is just weird and wrong on their part, but whatever, they were agreeing with us, so we don't need to pick on them. But they said that you have to be dealing with people that have valid recommendations. And what I've been seeing a lot lately is people not checking recs. Man, you've got to check these recs. This is not a joke. This is, I can't walk into CVS and say, can I get a Vicodin? So there's no, okay, we're trying to say this is medicine, this is for medical purposes. Think about what would happen if you walked into CVS and we're just like, I would like Xanax. I would just like some. That's it. And they're like, okay, here's Xanax. You see why that's not okay? Same thing, you've got to be checking the recs for a lot of reasons. One, you have to be running this like a legitimate enterprise, like a legitimate business. Not for profit, that's a tax structure. That's the way you pay your taxes. That's the way money flows into and out of the corporation. That doesn't mean money doesn't exchange hands. So recs are really important, unbelievably important for that reason. And also, too, and this is a huge reason, this is your tip, undercover cops. They're undercover. They're calling you. People call me and say, oh, I was selling on Craigslist. First of all, don't sell on Craigslist. I don't care how incorporated you are. Please don't sell on Craigslist. If you're making weird faces, that's great. Thumbs up. That means you think that's a terrible idea. It is. Okay? It is an awful idea, but people do it. And don't do that. But the bottom line is undercover cops, okay? They're real and they're out there. Guess what? You don't have to worry about them if you're checking recs and you're doing the right thing and you're verifying their recommendations, and if they're presenting you with a state or county ID card, you're verifying that as well. That's your job, but you have to take those steps because you can't just say, well, I was properly incorporated. Yeah, well, Detective so-and-so called 3 times, you never verified if he even had a rec, and you're selling him weed. Well, you're dealing drugs at that point. That has nothing to do with a collective or a cooperative. So check the recs. That's the first proposition to the John Jackson case. Second is associated together to collectively cultivate marijuana. Associated together. Okay, what does that mean? Membership agreements, okay? Your friend with the recommendation who keeps coming in all the time is not a member of your collective. They're your friend who's buying weed from you all the time. You have got to get your membership agreements in order. And remember, I do criminal defense. You have membership agreements or not, I'm never going to see a dime of that money. That does not go to me. I'm just telling you how to make my job easy. And that's, you have membership agreements, you're distributing to 12 people, you have their valid recommendations on file somewhere, and you have their membership agreements attached to the recommendation. Please, it's so much easier for me when they come like that. Okay, it's really important to do that. It's a huge step with that. There are a lot of people who are going a little loosey-goosey with this right now and saying, what's the point? Everyone got shut down, everyone gets arrested anyway, what's the point? The point is, you can fight it. If you get arrested and you have all this stuff in order, there's your defense. Let's go to trial and get found not guilty. Absolutely, I love trial. Lance loves trial. We all of us who do this love trial. We're all about it. And it makes there's nothing we like more than having our clients come to us and say, yeah, this is what we have, and we go, great. I mean, it's one of the few times in criminal defense you actually are like, oh, I'm gonna win, this is good. It's a nice feeling. So it's really important to understand, this is really, I know this may seem like, oh, like, you know, she's just saying, no, this is your defense. This is how you protect yourself. This is exactly what your defense goes to. I, as a lawyer, can know the law inside and out, but your defense in trial or in court or at any of the hearings isn't me standing up and reciting the law. It's me telling the judge, explaining why what you were doing, specifically what you were doing, falls within the law and why it's totally cool and it's okay. And we all need to go home. This is a huge waste of time. Third, and this is one that even professionals struggle with, and that is making sure that your collective, your cooperative, your storefront dispensary is truly non-profit. Okay? That as in you're 1099ing people, you're keeping track of where the money's coming in and going out, you're declaring things on your taxes properly. I know ASA, we work with CPAs. I don't even know if I'm allowed to plug anyone right now, so I won't come see me or Kim later if you need a CPA who does this, but it's huge. It's huge. And it's really, and that was actually came up in Javon Jackson's case. You know, that was a weakness of his case, was that he wasn't really able to get up there and explain everything word for word, you know, where the money was going. I get it. I understand the business. I'm not speaking to you as, you know, this person who doesn't know that yeah, your grower doesn't really want to get 1099s. I know. I know that and I understand that, but I'm not doing a very good job of explaining to you how to defend yourself in a real meaningful way if I don't tell you that that's a really good thing to have. If you have 1099s for your growers, if you can account penny for penny what's going on with your business and how, yes, you are allowed to draw a salary. And yes, you are allowed to take money for your time and effort and labor and costs. You're allowed to do that, but you have to account for it. And I want you to think of it not as medical marijuana, but as if you're audited by the IRS, this is what you have to do, okay? You have to start going through your receipts and just start coming up with, oh, what did I spend this money on or where did it go? You're being audited by the criminal court. Think of it like that. You're being audited. You've got to explain where this money's coming from. So those are two reasons. So also People v. Colvin, which said very similar things to Javon Jackson, but it was in a different district. It was in LA. And it said something very similar, and it's very good news, and it means we get to all be in a regular cooperative together, and all you have to do is pay your dues and be a member. But remember, no loosey-goosey, guys. This is not the time. I understand that, the dispensaries got closed down by the city, people got arrested, everyone got really scared, and then everyone sort of threw their hands up and went, well, what's the difference? Well, you're still growing it, you're still distributing it, and you're still taking, I'll definitely Q&A at the end, and you're still engaging in the same behaviors. And the defenses are still there for you. But you can't just throw caution to the wind and just carry on with business as usual and not actually take those extra steps to protect yourself. So that's what's going on that I've seen recently with state law. Now let's go to the pink elephant. Give me a second, I'm going to take some coffee and we'll talk about federal law, which I know everyone's really excited to talk about and hear about. All right, federal law. Just so that we're totally clear about everything I just said, marijuana is 100% federally illegal. There is no license, there is no permit, there is no doctor's recommendation, there is no even medical marijuana in federal law. If you go to trial on a medical marijuana case, the government will file, they're called motions in limine, and they're motions to keep out everything about your medical marijuana defense and compliance, as in the fact that you were running a dispensary and that's why you had 100 pounds of weed on you or whatever you had. It's called marijuana or pot or weed, by the way, in federal court. Medical marijuana is not a term that they use there, and it's a fight to actually use it. We're seeing actually, it's 100% federally legal. There's nothing you can do. There's no paperwork you can have. That being said, there have been two cases that I'm aware of in the Southern District of California, so in San Diego, that's our district. Believe it or not, LA is the Central District of California, so a lot of things that happen in LA actually aren't necessarily, they seem like they'd be affecting us more, but they don't even legally really have that same impact. Same with state court also, their appellate court's a different district, so San Diego's, we are very much our own universe and our own world, much like Oakland. So, that was, Oakland's a northern district and its own planet. So what's going on with federal law? Well, we had people, has anybody heard of the James Stacy case? James Stacy, by show of hands? Okay, I'm going to talk about that briefly. Back in 999, there was a huge raid on a bunch of dispensaries. Almost every single one of them got prosecuted in state court for some reason. James Stacy, the lucky guy that he is, got prosecuted in federal court. State court people, no defense, have defenses. Federal court, Mr. Stacy can't use any of the defenses that those guys got to use. Well, what happened? He was only open for 10 weeks. Okay, so we're clearly not talking about the Pablo Escobar of dispensaries, which, by the way, they always think they're getting. Just so you know, they always think that you are a drug kingpin, that you're not someone who's growing, 4 pounds of marijuana and, barely making ends meet because they don't realize how expensive it is. Yeah, you're Escobar to all of them. What happened was he was only open for 10 weeks. He went federal, and his attorney, who was a phenomenal federal defender, Kashi, she filed motion after motion after motion after motion after motion. I mean, just really got on it and really just didn't just say you have to take a plea deal, it's illegal federally, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, she got really aggressive with it and did a really good job of saying, hey, we're not at trial yet where all this stuff isn't going to come in. We have all these pre-stages. The judge needs to understand this case. The judge needs to know what's going on. The judge has to understand that, I understand we're in federal court, we don't have these defenses, but that was what was happening. He was running this dispensary legitimately with paperwork. And the judge said, and it was Judge Moskowitz, and he's the chief judge right now, so that's a very big deal. This is good news. He actually said, in his opinion, I truly believe that you're someone that was caught between state and federal law. Okay? You guys aren't the nerds that I am, but that is a big, big, huge, huge deal. You're talking about a federal judge telling somebody who's blatantly operating a dispensary, wow, I think that you're actually caught between this rift that we have between state and federal law. Instead of, I don't actually have to take into account any of your state compliance at all, because I don't have to, and in fact I'm not even supposed to as a federal judge, and I could bang the gavel and give you a mandatory minimum sentence and call it a day. No, he didn't do that at all. The judge actually looked at his paperwork, looked at how he was running his operation, and said, probation. Okay? That is mind-blowing. That is huge. Now there's another case that happened, also federally, kind of went the other way. Anyone hear of Kush Lounge? Okay. That case went the other way, and that went the other way for a very interesting reason, because that was Judge Irma Gonzalez, who's a conservative judge, if you will. Not that we have too many liberal judges in federal court here, so don't get too excited. Mr. Hester, allegedly, was laundering some money along with, using his dispensary as a front to launder money. Bought a few things, bought a few expensive things, bought a few $1 million homes, boats, RVs, things that they add on, they become noticeable. So, Judge Guns, and he got sentenced, he's doing time right now, sorry. Let me just, nip that in the bud right away. But what the judge actually said in her opinion when she sentenced him, which is a huge, huge deal. Yes, he got sentenced because he was not even coming close. He wasn't even trying to comply with state law. The judge actually said that in her opinion. She said, I didn't see compliance with state law. This is huge news. They do not have to factor this in at all. They do not have to consider this at all. Federal court is the scary place, and it has been always for medical marijuana in California for years, is federal court. We always, if you go into Lance Rogers' office, there's a huge sign that says marijuana is 100% federally illegal. I mean, it's just, it's what we all know to be true, and it's the thing we're all afraid of. And what we actually have right now, only based on 2 cases, so I wouldn't go as far as to call it a trend, but it's a big deal that your state compliance actually will get noticed. Okay? That's in federal court. Now, I'm not saying that's a guarantee. I'm not saying, and I can't. I mean, 2 judges saying it, but those are the only 2 cases that I even know of regarding dispensaries and the nature that we're talking about, the way these cases come up even in state court, or I can refer to those cases. And I would say that's really good news. It's really good news, because those are not your liberal judges. Those are very conservative judges who are saying, wow, you have paperwork. Well done. Where are we on time? Because I want to talk about law enforcement encounters really quickly. Yeah.
You got another 10.
Okay. Let's talk really quickly about what to do if the cops or DEA or someone actually does show up at your door or your window, things like that. The places cops like to show up. Okay, all right, so we covered you do need your paperwork, we need the recommendations, we covered that you need your membership agreements if you're going to be doing this, and we also covered the fact that you really actually need to show your compliance with state law and your non-for-profit status. And now let's talk about the fact that you're doing all of these things. You have all of your paperwork, I mean, you're on it, you spoke to your lawyer's like, nope, sounds good, remember, federally legal, but you're good. It's like our little sign-off to everyone. And now the cops are at your door anyway. What went wrong? What do you do? Okay. First of all, the cops could be at your door for a number of reasons. Let's not forget, your neighbors may not be 420 friendly, let's just say. And even though you're doing everything within the confines of state law, and you're good and you're legit, does that mean that your neighbor isn't going to call the cops and complain about you? Because of the smell, because of the traffic, because of the noise. Fans make noise, guys. The smell, you may love it. Not everyone does. It's a sad truth, if you will. And the traffic. If you are cultivating in your home or in a certain area where you're also meeting people to distribute it there, that's noticeable. I know, a lot of people, nobody thinks they're gonna get caught, just so you know. Nobody comes to me going, I knew I was gonna need you. That's not, I don't have that kind of business. Kim does. Kim has the kind of business where you know you need Kim and you go to Kim. You had no clue you were ever gonna need me, definitely never wanted to, and here you are. But the neighbors, so be really mindful of your neighbors, just to keep the cops away from your door in the first place. Be polite with your neighbors, be respectful with your neighbors. Don't necessarily tell your neighbors that you're growing a lot of plants, but make sure that you're on good terms with people, if you can be, to the best of your ability. Now the cops are at your door, what do you do? Okay, scenario one, they don't have a warrant. Okay, the police do not have a warrant to come in. They're really just they're knocking on your door, just checking. Do you have to talk to the cops? No. No. See, no's. Anyone think yes? Get out! No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, you can stay.
They got you
No,
pulled.
you absolutely do not have to talk to the cops. You have to present them with identification. Let's just cut the semantics. Yes, give them your ID if you're, okay? I mean, we can go into legal, constitutional rights arguments, but unless you're really prepared to be that person and stand there and do that with the cop, give the police officer your identification. If you have a valid recommendation or ID card, please present them with that. And then please, that's it. That's it. Remember, make my job really easy. Making my job easy means mouth shut. Yep. Being polite, being respectful, and then blaming it on me. Just blame it on me. Just throw me under the bus. I don't care. Just say, officer, I'm really sorry. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but my lawyer said not to say anything. I'm really sorry. Sorry, just give my name. You don't even have to hire me, okay? How about that? You just have to say that that you have a lawyer, and that I told you not to say anything, and that I'm sorry. And then they say something like this, and then it goes.
Here, you want to roll?
You want to? Okay. Thank Kimberly from the audience. Thank you so much. It's totally impromptu, by the way. I'm very nervous.
I'm really scared, by the way.
Okay. So, can we talk about what's going on?
I'd rather not. My lawyer told me not to.
Hey, I understand, but here's the deal. I have a few questions for you. And if you answer them, it's going to go smoothly, but if you don't answer them, I can't really help you out.
I mean, I'd really rather not. I'd rather not.
Look, I'm just here to help you right now. I just want to figure out what's going on. I mean, I don't even know if you're going to get arrested. It's not even, I'm just trying to figure it out. That's my job. So, you talk to me, tell me what's going on. I can help you out, but I can't help you out once your lawyer's here.
Okay, I guess.
Okay, ready?
Stop. Don't say the okay, I guess.
Okay, here's the deal. If someone's trying to decide whether or not to arrest you, they are never there to help you. Okay? Yeah, ever. Okay, that's just, so remember, don't get caught in this legal tunnel of what do I do? Take a step back. There's someone deciding whether or not to arrest you. Not your friend. Not the person you should be engaging with in a conversation. Not someone who's actually there to help you. And also, as somebody who has the privilege of reading these police reports and reading what you said or kind of said, yeah, they're not taking notes verbatim, okay? It's not like a stenographer where, as you say it, you say something, they'll put it in whatever context looks best for them. They'll even throw a few things in there that you didn't say. So, the best police reports I get are decline to comment, invoke right to remain silent, ask to speak to an attorney. Now, a big question I get is, well, doesn't that make me look guilty? Or, what if they arrest me because I didn't speak? First of all, they can't arrest you for not speaking, okay? They can't. And if they do, call me, I'm all over that issue. I'd love to litigate that issue, that'd be amazing. Oh, that'd be so good. I did the suppression version, I totally went. So, remember, once they're there, once the cop is there, you don't have to speak, okay? If they don't have a warrant, they don't get to come in either. They don't get to search, all right? This is important. Now, scenario 2, the cop has a warrant now. Now, all of a sudden, something happened behind the scenes that you don't know about. Something happened, okay? You don't know what. You're not going to know until they show up with the warrant. And they usually don't call and be like, hey, we're thinking about getting a warrant to search your place. They're not courteous like that. They're going to come at an inconvenient time. They're allowed to execute warrants between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. Guess how many get executed at noon? Very few, okay? They're coming in 6:01,
Yeah.
that's what they're doing. They're coming in 6:01, 9:59. Expect those times, expect those inconvenient times. Why? First of all, not that I'm the biggest defendant of cops, but you're probably gonna be home at those times. I mean, there's just the common sense approach. And then two, the darn them approach is that, they're throwing you off your game. They're not gonna come in when they think you're prepared to speak to them. They're coming in at 6 a.m. when you're probably asleep, or 10 p.m. when you're probably ready to go to sleep. For some people, not everyone. Sorry, excuse me a minute. But now they have a warrant, and now they're there. Do you have to talk to the cops now that they have a warrant? Anyone? Yes? No? I'm seeing some no's. Anyone think yes? Get out! This is No. The answer is no, they don't. They have the right to search the premises, okay? And in that aspect, I must say, yeah, you're a little bit screwed. And prepare to watch your house get ransacked. They're not gonna just untuck your sheets and then, hospital corner them back in. It doesn't work like that. Your drawers turned upside down. Places that you never even thought about growing marijuana, that's inside out. That's the reality. They are entitled to search your house, and it's a really helpless, awful, frustrating feeling if you're there and you're in that situation. But you absolutely do not have to speak with them. And one thing I want you to take away from this, please don't explain what that's doing over there, okay? They have the warrant. They found it. The jig is up. It's there. Don't explain why it's there, because that's going into the police report now. And now that's, for me, a hurdle, okay? It's not going to help you out. And your explanation of why what you were doing was okay and within compliance to the cop is actually not the right time to really, start with your, it's not a good forum, let's just say, for you to explain why what you're doing is okay. Keep your mouth shut. Now, really important question, that's the cops, and that's probably who you're going to be dealing with in all honesty, but what about the DEA? What if the DEA is at your door? Do you have to talk to the DEA? No, good, absolutely not. Same thing. You do not have to talk to anybody ever. I don't have to call my mother back, you don't have to talk to the DEA. You're under no obligation to speak to people you don't want to be speaking to, okay? You do have to present them with your ID, and I'm gonna tell you this for one reason and one reason only. Once you get into that game of now you're not giving them your ID, and now this and that, that's your can of worms, and you can by all means give me a call and I'll be more than happy to walk you through your constitutional rights and what you have to say in those situations, but for expediency and efficiency and the sake of show them your ID and let's go to the next step, which is keeping your mouth shut, let's just leave it there for now. Searching the car. Okay. Really, really quickly, and I actually had a chart, but unfortunately my laptop is new and I am computer illiterate. So we understand that delivery services are a real thing and that they're happening, and that delivery services are sort of at a unique risk as opposed to a storefront dispensary, because now you have it in a car, and you don't have the same rights in your car that you do in real property. In other words, your home or a store, or what have you. So I'm going to tell you this. The best way to keep yourself safe with delivery, half a pound at a time. Not the most economically productive way or efficient way to do it, but a half pound at a time. And the reason for that is so many-fold. First of all, you should not, for your own safety reasons, be driving around with that much quantity, because unless you've actually delivered to that particular person before and you actually know that that person is a safe person to deliver to, you're still at risk. 2, you shouldn't be driving around with that much cash for the same reasons. And 3, half a pound is legal in almost all of the counties. So if you wind up going to the wrong side of the street and now you're in the city or the county in the city and you're moving in and out like that, you're probably going to be okay. But even more important than that, federally, our Southern District has to deal with so much illegal immigration issues that we really don't even have time to take up misdemeanor drug cases. Most of the cases that come to federal court are felony level drug cases. So a half a pound, up to actually 9 ounces, is still a misdemeanor in federal court, okay? So, well, yes, you are very much breaking federal law. Okay, let's be clear. I'm on tape, you're breaking federal law. A half a pound is still, you're still in misdemeanor world in federal court. And the odds of, even though you're delivering and you're transporting marijuana, even federally a half a pound is, you're probably, if you're gonna get charged with something, you're gonna go to state court and then you're gonna have your defenses. But just really quickly, just when they knock on the door, no, you have no consent. I do not consent to you searching my trunk. It is probably one of the most awkward, awful feelings you're ever gonna have, because the cops at your, anytime a cop ever pulls me over, I'm always speeding. Anytime a cop pulls me over, I'm always like, I don't know, I'm sorry, here's my license, please. I don't want to say anything. But it feels so awkward, so I know what it feels like. I don't want to be lecturing you like, oh, it's no big deal, just tell a cop whatever you need to. It's a truly awkward feeling, but you have to stick to your guns. And people always say, well, doesn't it make me look guilty if I say no, you don't have consent? The 10 pounds of weed in your trunk makes you look guilty. You saying no, you can't search my trunk does not make you look guilty. Well, how about we get the canine out here? Okay, here's the deal. If you have an illegal amount of marijuana in your trunk and the cops at your car asking to search it, you're done. You need to change gears and stop getting out of the whole mindset of, how do I get myself out of this situation? You're in the situation. This is the situation. The best thing you can do is be smart about it and don't panic and maintain your rights and invoke your rights and make sure that when you say the cop says, well, you can get the canine out here, you say, okay, I'm sorry, but my attorney told me not to consent. I'm really sorry. If there's an illegal amount of drugs in your trunk, telling the cop that there's an illegal amount of drugs in your trunk, showing him to it, and then saying, do what you gotta do, man, because I want to be cooperative, is not gonna help you. You really have to you have to really stand your ground and be smart about what you're doing and understand that anybody that's trying to determine whether or not they should arrest you is not someone you talk to. You call me, you call Kim, you call Lance, you call anybody that's on the ASA website, everybody that handles cases like this. We've heard all the questions before. Sometimes we get new ones, but we've heard a lot before. And I think speaking of questions, yes, you in the back had your hand up first.
So back then in the beginning, you were talking about collective data on your memberships, that you can make it be a nonprofit. What about not-for-profit?
What, I'm sorry?
So what about not-for-profit? Can you run a
Oh,
collective?
yeah, do you want to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got criminal questions.
Oh, yeah.
Before we get here.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, really
Well,
quick.
it's a fast answer. There really is no difference, to tell you the truth. The kind of paperwork that we're talking about filing, it's a non-profit mutual benefit corporation, and then you operate on a not-for-profit basis. More or less the same.
But it's a tax structure. That's all. That's really all it is. Yes.
Half a pound. Do they do it by weight? And if that's an edible, how does that go?
That is a phenomenal question. Okay.
And concentrate.
And concentrates. These are all good questions. Okay, so legality versus reality. Okay, legally, what are they allowed to weigh? They are allowed 11.360 to 7.7D says they can only weigh the dried, processed, mature bud. So actually, we're all adults here. The stuff you can put in the pipe and smoke, you can vaporize and vapor. The stuff that you can actually use. What do they weigh? Let's say that this is the plan. Okay. This is the table the plan is on. This is the room the plan is in.
They weigh everything.
Okay? And we have to fight, and as your attorney, you have to hire an attorney who's experienced with medical marijuana, because a lot of attorneys get these weights back and they kind of freak out and they go, you need to take a deal. A good medical marijuana attorney knows they need to be fighting for that evidence review and making sure that they have their own expert coming in and weighing what is real and not just in the vicinity of what was happening. But that's a really good question, and the answer is you have to get your own expert to come in and create a true weight and get a true measurement, because the cops are going to come up with something wacky. As far as edibles, they actually don't have that. It's not like they weigh the brownie. They don't weigh the tons of brownies. As far as concentrated, the weights are different as far as where you hit felony level or misdemeanor level of the weights, but they weigh, if you're talking about hash, they'll weigh the hash in the glass jar that it's probably in. Glass jars are heavy, they like that. But that's really the answer, is that the true weight versus the weight that will show up on the police report are two different things. So if you're ever in that situation, really important that you work with not just a criminal defense attorney, but someone that understands medical marijuana criminal defense. Sorry.
I want to add real quick to the edibles one, because I get that question a lot.
Tough one.
what I typically see, and I think Melissa as well, when you have actual product and then you have edibles, it's more like a police report and then an inventory. So they'll say your 20 pounds of cannabis, which was probably maybe 2 or 3, 20 cinnamon toke crunch bars, 10 Maui Wowie whatever. And it's not necessarily, because there isn't really a way to go in, and they're not going to spend money to lab test and get that nitty gritty. So it counts, but it's more of like a totality of the circumstances of what else it's with.
Fair, I like it, yes?
Yeah,
Sorry, just gonna
I had a driver who got pulled over for something else, he was speeding. And the police officer said, oh, you're a medical marijuana patient. I'm gonna report that to the DMV and you will have your license suspended because you are disabled. Is there anything I can do?
Okay, well, off the top of my head, let's deal with this new issue, okay? Well, first of all, very important to understand that even with DUIs, with any kind of DUI, medical, whether it's drug or alcohol, yes, alcohol is a drug, but, related, the court has absolutely zero jurisdiction over the DMV, zero. So whether you're guilty of a crime or not has nothing to do with your driver's license. The DMV is its own beast. I don't believe that that's an accurate statement that the cop made, where the cop can just...
No, his license was suspended.
Well, again, legality versus reality. What the DMV does, though, is its own kind of beast, so to speak. So my advice in that situation would be talk to somebody who deals with a lot of DUIs and deals